Hello everyone, this is Clarence with Spencer's Camera. We wanted to provide a brief tutorial and introduction to our favorite panorama stitching program called PTGui. Some of you may be familiar with PTGui. In this tutorial, I'll provide brief instructions on how to load your files and create a panoramic image. Also, how to correct common errors and how to export the image. Let's get started. So this is the workspace of PTGui. I have loaded here PTGui Pro, which does have more functionality than the base PTGui version, but I strongly recommend if you're somewhat serious at shooting and editing panoramic files that you select the PTGui Pro version when you're purchasing this. It is some of the tools that are provided in the Pro version are very helpful and sometimes necessary, especially when solving certain errors or problems related to stitching your panoramic images. I won't waste a bunch of time trying to explain all of this workspace up front. We will just describe things as we need to use them, different tools and windows as we need to use them during this process. So to get started, I have a panorama that was captured in March of 2026 in southern Utah of a double Milky Way arch. We're commonly or frequently asked how to stitch a double Milky Way arch panoramic image. Simply put, it's easier if you can get it to work, which we can typically, to just stitch all of the summer Milky Way and winter Milky Way images as one panoramic file. If for some reason there were errors during your shooting of the different arches, summer and winter Milky Way shots, then it may be necessary to stitch them separately, meaning the summer Milky Way arch panorama as one file and then the winter Milky Way arch panorama as another file, and then blend those two together. But for this example, we will be stitching them all at once in one panoramic file. So I've selected every image showing the summer Milky Way images here and the winter Milky Way images. Just going to drag and drop those into PTGui. It should recognize what your focal length of your lens is. You just confirm that, and it will also show the camera that was used. Click OK, and it will load the images here along the top. I wouldn't worry too much about what it shows here. Typically, it will show them in chronological order or in order of the file name. But when you click Align Images, it should analyze each image and create a proper panorama. Now, I'm hoping it will give an error or give us a problem here so that I can explain how to solve a very common issue that is seen sometimes when using PTGui. So simply click Align Images, and here we go. This is exactly what I was hoping would happen. And it does happen somewhat frequently where you get this jumbled mess and not a straightforward, clean panorama. So easy way to solve this in most cases is to simply close this out. We want to click File, New Project, say Don't Save, and then we will reload the same files. One thing I'm kind of frustrated with PTGui, very few things I'm frustrated with, is there is somewhat inconsistent results when loading the files into PTGui. Almost every time you'll get a slightly different result, sometimes dramatic results, as you saw with that first example. Now if we click Align Images, same result. So let's try this one more time and see if it can give us a better result on the next go around. Usually it works pretty consistently on the second go around, but let's see how this works on the third try. Third time's the charm, hopefully. Click Align Images, and there you go. So it analyzes these files differently each time for some reason. In my mind, you would think that the equations, mathematical equations and algorithms being used to create this should be consistent, but that's one thing you'll find with PTGui. In this instance, when you're loading a panorama, especially these wider panoramas, you will get potentially a different result each time. So now we have a nice looking panorama. A couple of things you'll notice when you mouse over the image, you will see these red stitch lines. These are the lines showing you the different edges of each image, each frame, and where it's being blended together to create the panorama. If you move the mouse over, those go away. The other thing you'll notice is all of these stars at the top of the frame are stretched really weird. That's related to the projection that is being chosen. So projections are different ways that the panorama can be represented or stitched. 99% or a very great percentage of the time, the best one to choose will be Mercator. So as you can see, now your stars aren't stretched anymore at the top, and the panorama isn't kind of squished down at the top and flattened. So in most cases, just by selecting this Mercator as the projection, that will solve that issue. And you can see also, if I move the mouse out of the way, right here next to this spire, it has not stitched in or allowed the summer Milky Way portion of the Rho Ophiuchus region to come through on this image. You can see it now better with the mouse moved out of the way. There's this dark section where there should be a bright segment of the Milky Way, including the Rho Ophiuchus cloud cluster. You can see it better now that I've moved the pointer out of the way. So one way to solve that is to go into, over here on the workspace, the mask section. Now you can scroll your mouse to zoom in and out. This is the frame number 1, and it was removing or not allowing this section of the Milky Way to be displayed or shown in the stitched panorama. So we want to force it to do that. Very simply, in this mask section, you can use this brush tool to either force it to use areas in the stitch or to erase or reject areas. At the bottom, there's a red brush, a green brush, and a clear brush, which is an erase tool. So I'm going to click the green. You can use your bracket tools to increase and decrease the size of this brush. And I'm going to select here and force it to use this section of this frame in the panorama. I want to go a little bigger than what I remember it deleting or excluding from the panorama. And I'm intentionally avoiding that spire just to make sure we don't get a weird distorted spire for some reason, and we'll let PTGui calculate the rest. Now up here in the thumbnails, I'm going to go to our winter Milky Way Arch section, and I want to force it to use this side of the Milky Way as well, just to make sure it's included. Then we will go back to this little icon of Panorama Editor. And now you can see in this area, the Rho Ophiuchus cloud cluster and this portion of the Milky Way is now included. It made that adjustment for us. From there, it looks very clean and nice. The arches are very prominent, look very even. And we can grab the image and rotate and kind of correct the horizon line. It was pretty straight, but I'm going to bring that up just a hair to make sure it's nice and level. That looks great to me. Click the X, go back to Project Assistant up here, and then we're going to click Create Panorama. So this is the export portion of this program. We want to select the location of where we're going to save this file. So that's my location for the file, and the file name, I'll just change this to say 02. We want to make sure these settings are correct. I like it to produce a Photoshop PSB file, 16 bits, no compression, and layered. This is the size of the file, the dimensions in pixels. I want it to be 100%. Some individuals will reduce that size so you don't have too large of a file. I prefer to create this panel as large as it can possibly using the raw files as it can possibly create, so that we have no lost data and we have everything there to edit later. So going to click create panorama, and it will save that file to the folder that we told it. You can see it's creating it there. Once that's completed, we will be able to open this in Photoshop if we like, and the stitch file will be accessible. I will open Photoshop now so that it's ready to go when this finishes. Okay, PTGui completed the export of the file, saved it as a PSB, and I've now opened it in Photoshop. As you can see, here are all of the layers, including every frame that was used in that panorama, which I prefer to have available in case I would like to change anything on the layer basis separate from the original background layer. At this point, you can perform any edits that you would like to the file, including cropping. The crop could have been performed in PTGui as well, which we probably should have done, but of course it can be completed here in Photoshop or any other editing program that you prefer. I will mention in PTGui, the file could have been exported as a TIFF or various different file types, but I prefer, because I'm a Photoshop heavy Photoshop user, I prefer that it be exported as a layered PSB file. For my intents and purposes, that works best for me. Regardless, I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, please reach out to us, or if this is on YouTube or any other program that has comment options, please leave some comments with questions or any ways we can improve these videos. Thanks for watching.